Hey everyone, it is day 3 of the CR125 build. Today I'm going to be extremely ambitious and try and get a huge amount of work done on this bike. There's still issues that I'm running into where I'm missing some parts that I thought that I had, but I must have tossed out when I took the bike apart, namely being the rear sprocket. I may be missing the front sprocket as well. I know I just purchased a chain, so I'm good there. Another thing I'm running into is some of the zinc plating that I did is still not taking the way that I thought it was going to. I've re-zinced a bunch of stuff. I'm going to clean that up today. I'm going to let it sit out and see what happens with it. But some of the other stuff, some of the bolts, I think what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to ceramic coat them and bake them in my oven so that I get a good hard coating on them. And then later on I'm just going to remove those bolts one at a time and replate them again when I can heat my solution. Okay, so today we're going to start off getting the rubber put back on these wheels so that I've got the bike sitting in a better position on the stand when I'm raising and lowering it, because right now without the rubber on it I'm trying to keep everything up off of the concrete, and sometimes I need to be able to get it down so I've got a little bit more stability. Okay, so let's get at putting the rubber on those rims. Now I'm fortunate enough to have a tire changing stand. After pinching many tubes, I decided it was time to buy one of these. They're not that expensive. I think this one was 75 bucks. It's made by Tusk. It works great. The spoons I bought separately. It did not come with the stand. These are fairly short. They're about 12 inches long, but they work great for getting underneath the disc and underneath the sprocket when you're taking the wheels off. Then I've also got one of these longer ones, kind of like a cheater bar. This is also made by Tusk, and it works great. There's lots of different manufacturers out there, and they're, you know, range in prices, but I think this one was about 15 bucks. Well worth it. I'm almost considering buying another one of these just for home use. They do sell shorter ones as well that you can put in your pack for out on the road. So one of the most important things that you're going to need in installing this tire is what's in this bottle right here. And this is simply water and dish detergent. And you're going to need a lot of this. I'm probably going to go fill this up when I get to the second wheel. That should be enough for this. You need to really coat your tube and tire well, because if you don't, you're probably going to pinch it unless you're a professional. And I am by far not a professional at doing this. So I'm going to soak it right down. It eventually evaporates after, so you don't have to be worried about any water or anything inside your wheel. Okay, you're going to want to pick yourself up a couple of tubes. Make sure that you buy heavy duty tubes. Don't cheap out and buy really thin tubes, or you're probably going to pinch it putting it on. Just go around and check and make sure that your tube doesn't have any rolls in it or kinks or anything. Once you get that through, put your nut on. Now comes the fun part. Well, I'm not gonna lie, that tire was extremely difficult to get on. I tried a few times and then finally I got it, but without a heavy duty tube I definitely would have pinched that tube. Unfortunately the weather is not that great right now, so I'm not able to sit my tire out where it can warm up to make it more pliable. And that's going to be it right there. Tire is on. And now for the moment of truth. Did I pinch the tube, or am I good to go? hear anything, which is a good sign. But if you really want to know if you pinch your tube, simply spray this all the way around and have a look. If you don't see any bubbles bubbling up, then you're good. If you've got the tire on the rim, more than likely your bead is not going to be set around here. With just putting in your 12 psi, it'll be sitting low on one side and high on the other. This is where you're going to over pressurize it until you see the tire pop into the bead around the rim. And there we go. Looks good on that side. Flip it over. Look at this side. And I've got an equal ridge going all the way around the tire. That means that the bead is set to the rim. Now I'm just going to back my pressure off and get it down to the recommended 12 psi. Now I'm going to mount these handlebars, but I'm not sure if I'm going to use them or not. Let's see how they look on the bike, and if I'm not happy with them, then I'll wind up ordering a new pair that is close to OEM. But these actually don't look too bad on here. I'll get the crossbar on and then we'll know what they're really going to look like. Well, those handlebars don't look half bad on there. Once we get grips on there, crossbar pad, and the clutch and brake, I think it's going to look pretty good. Okay, so I already went about reinstalling the bumper on the bottom and putting the head back on the shaft of the shock. This is not difficult. Basically, you have a screwdriver inserted through all these parts. If you watch when I took this thing apart in previous videos, I had put this through here after I backed the nut off and held it all together, and then I zap strapped it all together. And then when I wanted to put it back together, same thing, I inserted the screwdriver through it, cut the zap strap off, put the bottom for the stopper on, put the stopper on, put this cover on, then I put the seal on. Now, I didn't have my bullet's missing, but what I did is I removed the seal from the head and then put it down, and you can kind of push the seal over once you've got a lip around the end, and then you can kind of work it on without damaging it. Then I installed the bottom part of the head, making sure that I kept my screwdriver tight on it all, and then got this washer, which is the or this centerpiece right here, sorry, of the head on there, which is probably the most difficult part because it has very little tolerance. And then I got the second part of the head on and then just kind of slid the ball on while maintaining having that screwdriver end sticking right in there. So got that completed now. I've lubricated the inside. Just stand it up, start it in, and there it goes. It's in. Now this part, getting the bottom half of the head in, sometimes it goes in easy, and that one did. So now that it's in, all I've got left is this circlip here, which is really easy to get in. You can pretty much do it by hand. It's a lot more difficult to get out. There's a little slot where it sits in. and just make sure that you got it all the way around. And as you can see, I've now got it in place. Now I can pull this up and that does not come out. Do that again. So you can see in there that it won't come out. You can hear it. It's got a good solid stop to it. Okay. Now this part here, you simply hammer it in. Now I'm going to use my dead blow hammer, and if that doesn't work, I've got a harder dead blow hammer. We'll try this one and see how it works. Just keep tapping it all the way around until it is in, and that's it. Pretty simple. Can't believe how dirty I got that rubber stopper already. Okay, now you want to pull your rod all the way out. Alright, so now that I've got that in, I'm going to take out the compression adjuster. And now I'm going to slowly fill it up with oil. Once it's completely full of oil, I'm going to cover up the hole and just slowly slide this forward. Just release the air, pull it back down again, and fill it up again. You want to make sure you release your hand very slow. And that does it. Spring back in. Little brass cap that goes on top of it. Just going to clean this up a little bit. And that is it. Alright, now I'm going to move on to installing the spring with this special tool right here. Another wonderful tool made by Tusk. And what this does is it compresses the spring. Sits on here like that, tighten them up, and you are able to compress the spring so that you can get the bottom retainer on. Alright, let's try that. I think that's going to work right there. Yep, we are there. Now we can start backing these off. But before I do that, I'm going to tighten this down, which will save a bunch of time later. For setting up the sag on the shock. It's about halfway right there. That should be good. And that is it. We are done. Let's get it mounted on the bike. A little bit of paint in there from the powder coating is all. Alright everyone, that's going to wrap up day number 3. I got quite a bit done today. I think my plan was to get that shock rebuilt, get the tires mounted on the rims, and get the shock mounted on the bike. And that's pretty much what I accomplished today. I ran into a few hiccups along the way. I had never rebuilt a shock before, so there were some challenges there, but I figured it out, and unfortunately I lost one of my little tools that I was going to use to rebuild that shock, but I was still able to get it done without it. So here's a look at the bike and where we're at now. Okay, so we got the tires mounted. No issues with the tires. I did not pinch them, which was really nice, because I'm not a pro at that at all. Kill switch is on, handlebars are on. I wasn't sure if I was going to go with those handlebars originally, but you know what? I kind of like them. They don't look that bad at all. They're a little bit faded, but it's got an interesting color transition to them. Got the rear shock mounted and rebuilt. Looks really good. Swing arm linkage is obviously on. This is one really good looking bike. You know, I wasn't a big fan of the 90s bikes, but we'll have to see how that plastic looks when we get it on here. That white frame looks really good. Still got to get some protectant for the swing arm. I'm going to get some Everbright and coat it. To send it off and get it anodized would just be ridiculously priced. And you know, if you've watched my channel before, when I sell these bikes, I sell them for what I've got into them. So if I'm going to anodize that rear swing arm, I'm going to be transferring that cost onto a future buyer. And I really don't think a future buyer is going to care if that swing arm is protected with Everbright. Tomorrow will be day number 4 on the bike, and I think we're going to get a lot done tomorrow. I'm going to continue to clean the airbox here in a couple of minutes and hopefully get it to the point where tomorrow I can mount it on the frame with the subframe. Once that is in place, I'm going to go down to my local motorcycle store and see if they have the nuts that I need for the larger bolts on the linkage, and then I can tighten all of that down. After that, I think we're pretty much at the point where I can put the decals on the plastic and get the plastic mounted on the bike. Yeah, that'll be it. I think that, you know what? Tomorrow, possibly Wednesday, it's supposed to rain on Wednesday, but maybe by the end of tomorrow, this roller is going to be done. I would be extremely happy if that was possible, as I really want to get working on the motor, and cross my fingers I could get everything done by this Friday, and maybe I could take the bike out to the track on Saturday. So I want to thank everybody for coming out and watching my channel. Please share, comment, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. If you're a returning subscriber, I thank you very much for coming and watching my videos, and I'll catch you tomorrow.